Sounds good. What's your background again?
I'm a technical writer.
Okay.
And so I get paid to be skeptical with the, how does this work? Or does this work?
You get paid to be skeptical when there's nothing to be skeptical about?
Most of the time there is something to be.
Yeah, that's true.
Later in life, I was kind of a nominal Christian. I went to church and everything, but again, I was influenced a lot by evolutionary thought. But I didn't spend a lot of time studying it or anything like that. I was too busy making a living in electronics. I picked up the newspaper one day and opened up to a section, and there was a guy holding a little tiny horse in his arms. And that was really the point where my education began to come unraveled. Because I thought, okay, so what they're telling me about all these little horses in the series is just genetic variation. So I dismissed a big chunk of biology right there. That went in the I don't know can. A few years later, a coworker told me, hey, you need to get out and see Lake Grapevine. It went over the spillway, and it's cut a big canyon out there. So we went out there about a week after the process began, and sure enough, it cut through bedrock, and there was a 30-foot deep canyon there. And all sorts of things, fossils, dinosaur footprints, all kinds of things exposed. And I began to look at that, and we kept going back, and it became a good thing to do on weekends is go out and look and see how much deeper the canyon got. So I was taking pictures of it and thinking, this is really evidence that the Grand Canyon isn't as many millions of years old as they say it is. And so that also went into the I don't know can. So in 92, somebody named Carl Baugh came to our church and began talking about things, and that was astounding, and it kind of made sense. He talked about an iron hammer that had been discovered in stone. That interested me. I asked for more information, and they sent me a little pamphlet, which I didn't think was very good quality. So I thought, well, the way to get to the bottom of this is I'll volunteer to go take pictures for him, because I had a lot of professional equipment. And I thought if he's on the up and up, if he's trying to hide something, he's not going to want me anywhere near that thing, to take really good detailed pictures. So I called him, sent him a fax, and made the proposal. And he threw everything open to me, let me copy all the test data, and I took my customary 200 or 300 pictures of everything, and that began the investigation of that artifact. Since that time, I've been down to the discovery site, I think 4 times, with a geologist named John Watson, who's now deceased. But I looked for every way in the world that could be faked, and I can't find any way that could be faked. It's just got too many things that nobody would think to do, too many characteristics. And so the jury's still out on that. It's obviously not a fake, but how in the world it got there is anybody's guess.
You're talking about the London
Right,
artifact.
right.
All right. What kind of research and work have you done for the museum since you got involved?
Primarily taking pictures and doing video. And then I dig up, for a long time I tried to dig up evidence in scientific journals that would disprove what they were teaching at the museum. One of the things that I found hard to swallow was the 30% oxygen in the atmosphere in the pre-flood world. And then I found a newspaper article, and it was talking about 2 scientists. I believe their names were Berner and Landis. Dr. Berner was a professor at Yale, and I couldn't find out anything else about it. It was just how newspaper articles are. They don't give you enough to go on. So I called Yale, just on the off chance that I could get through, and they put me through to him. And he immediately told me that he didn't have time to talk about it, 45 minutes later, I finally got off the phone. But he told me, he pointed me to articles in Nature where I could read it for myself and all the data, all the test methods, which is exactly what I was looking for. The Bible tells us test everything and hold on to the good, so that's the biblical basis for skepticism. So what they found was that in amber bubbles from Cretaceous times, they found a way to crush those in a vacuum and then analyze the gases that came out. And sure enough, they found over 30% oxygen. So that shot down that effort to disprove the teachings of the Creation Evidence Museum. Other things I've done is taken pictures of lots of footprints and document the removal of some of them. There's a very large Acrocanthosaurus print right over there that I documented the removal process of that. The 2008 was the I've also spent a lot of time at the Taylor Trail, sandbagging and mopping the river. And last summer it dried up again, so I got to go back down there and take a lot more pictures and verify measurements and that sort of thing. The 2008 was the year of I call it the plague of the loose slabs, because the first thing that came to light, I believe, was the Willet print, and it looks too perfect. And I took pictures of it from every angle and every conceivable lighting angle, and went with Dr. Baugh to have it CT scanned. When you push your foot into mud, it doesn't just squish down. It flows. It flows out, and you disrupt all of the clay particles that are in the mud, and so that changes the density in the rock. I looked for a way to fake that, especially after the Delk print came to light. The Delk print was also a little bit too convenient, I thought, and I was just, I first saw it and I thought this has got to be a fake. They're trying to just milk money out of the museum, and that sort of thing. And I slowly eliminated all the possibilities for how that could be faked. I went so far as to get a big piece of Biloxi limestone and take it home, and I poured muriatic acid on it and poured more acid on it and kept doing it until I had a nice little depression in it. And then I flipped it over and whacked it with a sledgehammer, and it split into 4 pieces, and I have that in my car if you want to see it. Because I wanted to see the, do you need to do something? Okay. I wanted to see if the acid action on the surface had any effect on the interior of the rock, if it reduced the density or anything else, because density variations are really what you see in a CT scan. So I did that, and there's absolutely no change inside. There's a very tiny, hair-thin layer of calcium chloride that builds up, because you pour hydrochloric acid on it, the HCl goes to work, and the calcium joins with the chlorine, and you get calcium chloride. But there's just nothing happening under the surface. And so, okay, acid does not make density variations underneath the track. There's no way. Ian Juby is another creation researcher. He came and visited, and he saw that, and he said, okay, let's try a few other things. So we got my drill out, and we put a grinder tip in it, and we ground grooves and everything in it, and we poured acid on it, and all kinds of things. And then he split it apart, and I have video of the clips of that. He split it apart. There are no density variations underneath those depressions. And we also, I believe we have CT images of that slab that we looked at too. There are no density variations underneath that. So I I am out of ideas as to how somebody could affect it. There's been a lot of criticism about the Biloxi prints, that a lot of them are distorted, they don't look human. By the way, the Zapata print, I was bothered by that the first time I saw pictures of it, until I saw pictures on the side of a swim, or I saw prints on the side of a pool where somebody had stepped there with a wet foot, and it looked exactly like the Zapata print. So it's a common print form of an entirely normal foot. So we had a muddy stretch of weather around our house, and so I had my granddaughters walk through mud, and I took slow motion video of them. Later on, I did the same thing, only I walked through the mud, and just to get an idea of what happens. And so those pictures are really informative, because your foot can make it just an infinite variety of weird footprints, because you always are going a different speed, you hit it at a different angle, your weight is shifted one way or another, and so when your foot hits, it slides. Number one, it slides a little bit. Also, the mud pushes in, it flows out, and it flows up. When you land, your heel pushes a little bit of the mud forward. Your arch rocks across it. When you push up, that exaggerates the arch. And that's where the exaggerated arch of a lot of these footprints is coming from. And so there's I don't know why there hasn't been more research done, but I guess it's just not very convenient. It was done once in 2004 down in there on the banks of the Biloxi, and then I did a little bit more in my yard. I'd like to extend that as soon as we can.
Who did that in 2004?
That was during actually the public dig.
Yes.
That went on here, and we just got started talking about it. Emil Silvestru, who does he work for now? Creation Ministries International.
I think so. Emmy, Clark, and Ian Julie were also in on that.
Right. And anyway, discussions got started, and they said, well, let's just see what the stride of a normal person is. And so just those simple experiments, and the length of the stride of a normal person ended up being a lot longer than anybody thought it would be, especially in mud.
And what about running, like the ones Aaron showed us yesterday on the ledge in the park? Look normal size from mine, but they're really far apart. Do you think they could have been running?
Probably, because especially if the mud was dry enough that you could get a grip. I can't imagine running in the mud that I ran tests with, because you'd leave a tail drag impression if you tried that. But yeah, because when you're running, if you stop and think about it, you spend more time off the ground than you do on the ground, and so the whole act of running, the point is to lengthen your stride, because your legs can only go so fast. And so the farther you go between one contact and the next, the better you run.
Okay.